Hi, everybody. It's Mimi back with another fascinating guest. I am so lucky to find these wonderful people. There's lots of wonderful people out in the world, and I like to spotlight them. Today we have Kijuan Amey. I think that's how you pronounce your last name. Yes? Okay. And Kijuan served in the Air Force from 2011 to 2021. And then something really terrible happened. He had a major um, accident, polytraumatic, which he'll explain more about that. And he was en route to a unit training that had to do with, um, I'm not sure, but something to do with the military.
Mhm.
So let him talk because he knows more about his story than I do. So, Kiwan, tell us the story, how you got hurt, what happened then.
Yeah, no problem. Like you mentioned, I was in the Air Force. At this point, I was in the Air Force Reserves. I did 4 years active of my 10, but then I switched over to the good side, or as the reserves would say, the dark side, and
Mhm.
did the reserves for the rest of my commitment. But about 6.5 years into my commitment, or duty served,
Mhm.
um, I had a terrible motorcycle accident, and that would be May 5th, 2017.
Mhm.
And as you stated, I served until 2021.
Yeah.
So June the 3rd was when I was medically retired officially. And I'm sure people are like, well, why in the world did it take so long? Because I'm 100% blind. I have PTSD, traumatic brain injury, spinal cord injury, both broke both legs,
Yeah.
and it still took them 4 years to retire me.
They
Uh,
found things for you to do.
eh, no, I
No,
mean, I literally was nowhere near work,
really. Yeah, they
nowhere
kept
near.
you on the books, right?
Yeah,
Before they
yeah,
paid you.
they were trying to find a way to get me off of the books, but yeah, the way they were going to get me off wasn't going to get me retired.
I gotcha. Mhm.
So I'm
It's
actually
always about
grateful.
money. It's always about
Well,
money.
I'm grateful that the way
Yeah.
they tried to get me out, it didn't work. I'm glad it
Right.
didn't work.
Right.
Um, because I would be struggling, honestly.
Hmm. Yeah.
I
Yeah.
would be living off of a Social Security disability check, more than likely. And
Yeah.
that's not much. Because
No.
I do receive that, and it's not much.
I
Um,
know.
I'm grateful that I did receive my full 100% retirement from the VA.
Good.
And what I was saying was, May 5th, 2017, I've been involved in a motorcycle accident that caused everything that I already ran off to you all. I mean, along with some other things that are more minuscule, but to me, everything is worth mentioning because it affects
Yes.
me daily.
Yeah.
Um, I mean, so uh, I was on May 5th, I would have to go to the base. I had to work that weekend. And so with me being in the reserves, I was also able to multitask things. So I not only was in the reserves, I also would be going to school full time for my college degree because I
Yeah.
wanted to commission and become a pilot.
Yeah.
And then I also had a my own business.
Hmm.
So the business that I have now is called Amey Motivation,
Yeah.
where I do keynote speaking, trusted mentoring, and resilience coaching. But the business I had before was called Kiwi Enterprise, where I did
Uh-huh.
website design and management, social media marketing, and photography.
Oh, wow.
Uh,
Wow.
Yeah.
What a pivot you had to make, a pivotal moment.
Well,
And that,
think
yeah,
about all the things I just mentioned. Website design and management, social media marketing, and photography all required what?
exciting.
Eyesight.
Absolutely. So how did you create Amy Motivations? Tell us about what that is.
Yeah, it came from the accident. It
Yeah.
literally came from the accident. So, with that accident, Well, I went to the to here in North Carolina, we have a lake called Jordan Lake where I
Mhm.
went to. Yeah, that's kind of where I go to like get my mind clear,
Yeah.
meditate, zone
Yeah.
out, just be by myself and just hang out.
Yes.
And
Hmm.
you know, as I realized what time it was, because like I said, I had to go to work. I
Hmm.
was like, well, let me head home, grab my stuff, and go on to the base.
Yeah.
Well, I'm on my way home, and from an intersection, this silver Honda Accord pulls out in front of me, and I'm running 55 miles an hour, which
Hmm.
is the speed limit on this road.
Hmm.
There's nowhere to go. There's the lane I'm in, and then there's the lane that's coming past me. There are only two lanes.
Yeah.
So I can't just like, oh, there's four lanes. Let me dip out, dip it. No, there's none of that.
Hmm.
Because if you dip right, you're going into the trees. If you go left, you're going into oncoming traffic.
Was he at fault? Did he,
Oh, absolutely.
well, did you get any compensation from that accident?
Yeah, but it isn't to me,
No, I just
it's
want,
kind of like
yeah.
it wasn't enough. That's how I felt
I,
about the whole
listen,
situation.
I will tell you, I was in an accident at one point on 84, I think it's called, up by Pennsylvania, and it was
Hmm.
winter. And it was one of those domino effects where one person hits a car and then everybody else starts hitting cars because it was
Hmm.
ice. And I had a tractor trailer end up on top of my car.
Oh, geez.
Amazing, right? And they couldn't get me out right away. They finally got me out. And we sued and everything, but I really am lucky I'm alive, you
Mhm.
know? But they said things like, well, she doesn't work, she's older, like they had all these reasons. And so I know what it's like to do that, to deal with those companies. But I'm glad you got your service retirement. That's good. That's good.
Yeah,
So tell us more about AmeyMotivation.com. What happens?
right. So again, going back to the accident, because that's where the juice comes from with
Okay.
the whole business.
Okay.
Uh, Having to, you know, being involved in this accident because May
Mm.
5th is really the last day I remember, visually seeing,
Yes. Mhm.
because that was the last time I had my sight.
Right.
And here I am almost, so next week, May 5th,
Yeah.
will make 8 years.
Yeah. Wow.
And so I haven't seen in almost 8 years now. And
Mm.
that day was very, very beautiful. It was like a beautiful, peaceful day. It's kind of crazy now that I think back on it so much
Yeah.
with all the times I speak on this day. It was so crazy, incredibly blissful.
You
And
just came from meditating on a lake.
well, that too, but
Oh, yeah.
even before that, I had lunch with my girlfriend,
Mhm.
which is amazing. I did something that I wanted to do by, ride my motorcycle and taking pictures for my business because I had plans to, edit all this
Yeah.
stuff. I'm doing stuff that I
It's a
love to
great day.
do,
It's a great day.
enjoying myself,
Yeah. Hmm.
and then I was excited because I was going to go to work that weekend to, be around the military family, because we consider ourselves a family.
Yeah.
Your daughter can explain it to
Yeah.
you, the
Very much.
camaraderie that we have,
Yes.
and that we just build this connection, a bond. And so,
Yes.
anywho, you know, I I have this accident only to wake up a month and a day later,
Oh, were you in a coma?
medically
No.
induced coma, and I
Oh,
wake up June the 6th.
okay.
So, I'm waking up at the hospital, UNC Hospital in Chapel Hill, North Carolina,
Yeah.
um, where when I wake up, it literally feels like I'm just waking up out of a sleep. Like
Yeah.
I just went to sleep that night and woke back
Yes.
up the next morning. I had no clue where I was. no clue what day it was, no clue that I've been in an accident
Mm-mm.
because I hadn't even tried to move around. I didn't try to open my eyes. Right now, I'm trying to figure out who is talking in my room because
Mm-mm.
I thought I'm in my bedroom and somebody's in there talking. I'm like, who is that? And
Yeah.
so that's all I'm thinking about, trying to figure out who that voice is.
Yeah.
And so I figure out the voice. It's my girlfriend, one of my ex-girlfriends,
Mm.
and then I was like, wait, there's more than one voice in here. I said, well, what the heck is my mom doing in my bedroom? That's not cool. You know,
Mhm.
you know what I mean? Like, because who's ready to wake up and say, everybody come have a party in my room? No, that's not what you do. You tend to
Right?
get
Very
yourself up.
disorienting for you. Very
Right.
disorienting.
And
Yeah.
so and so anyway, I'm listening to them, but they're having a conversation about an accident. And then they
Mm,
mention a motorcycle accident, but they're not mentioning a name.
mm,
They are not saying a name. It's
mm,
all generalized statements. I hate this happened to him. Oh, I hope he gets better, blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, who the heck are they talking about? And I
mm.
can't figure it out. My brain is nowhere near where it was before the accident.
Were you able to speak at
No,
first?
no.
That's what I thought.
Broken jaw,
Oh,
a lot of chipped and cracked teeth, and my mouth was wide shut.
so
And
you
so
can't ask any questions.
I couldn't see,
Oh,
I
couldn't
could
speak.
not talk,
Uh-huh.
and I didn't realize it yet, but I could not smell.
Oh, really? That's a lot of
I
sense.
lost that in the reconstructive surgery they did to my face because I have two metal plates in my head.
Oh,
Yeah.
you're lucky to be alive.
That's an understatement.
I-
Every doctor that worked on me counted me out.
Absolutely.
So there, luck is not the correct word.
Now, you had some help from some spirit guides or
Oh
heaven
yeah,
angels or
trust me,
something.
I am truly blessed.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
so my thought process, because I actually did speak to one of the doctors who did a surgery on me, which was the one who did my spinal cord surgery, because I have two rods and 12 screws in my back.
Mm.
Um,
Iron Man.
Yeah, basically, or titanium, whichever you want to call it.
Yeah.
He,
Iron Man because of the character,
well,
the
no,
Iron
I'm just
Man.
saying. The reason I say titanium is because that's what they use in human
That's
bodies.
what they used.
But
Yeah.
he told me to my face. This is after well after I was discharged from the hospital. At a follow-up appointment, he told me. He said, I'm surprised you're not in a wheelchair. And
Mm,
I was like, what do you mean? Because I wasn't sitting in a wheelchair. I wasn't sitting in a chair. I was sitting up on a bed, the little bed in the rooms,
mhm,
in the little clinic rooms. I
mhm,
was sitting up on that. No back support, nothing.
mhm,
And so when he walked in the room, he's like, wow. I was like, what happened? You know? And he's like, I I didn't expect you to be sitting up on that bed like that. I was like, well, what did you expect? And that's
yeah.
when he said, I thought you would be in a wheelchair.
Mm,
And I was like, I said, well, if you think that's good, I got something else to show you. He's like, what's that? You want to see me stand up? And he's like, sure. And so I said, okay. And he slid back, in those little rolling chairs they have. And I stood up and I said, put my hands on my hip, said, yes,
mhm.
sir. I can stand up tall. And
Superhero.
he said, wow,
Yeah.
when I did your surgery, I was just doing it for protocol.
Mm, You didn't think it
And
would help. Huh,
and anybody that knows what that means, it's
right?
exactly what you said.
Yeah.
He had no clue if that would help
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Oh, wow.
because
Wow.
what was consciousness to me? It was
Yeah.
nothing.
How did you deal with being blind in the beginning?
Oh, I was about to say, how did I deal with it? I'm still, look, I still have
Oh,
my moments. But
in the
in the
initially,
beginning, it was
uh,
definitely a what the heck? I, I literally, I literally thought somebody was playing like a trick on me. So I thought somebody had something cut on my eyes, and I'm
mm,
like, yo, I don't know what y'all are doing, but this is not funny. Like I couldn't
um,
see and I couldn't talk. I said, hey, I don't play these kind of games. Y'all need to fix this.
yeah, you thought they could fix it. Yeah.
Well, I
Wow.
thought they did something. You know,
Yeah.
I'm thinking somebody's playing a prank on me.
Yeah.
I don't do too well with pranks.
Oh, but it
You know,
was,
two things I don't like, surprises and pranks.
well, you had a surprise.
And so
Yeah.
I said, I don't know what you guys are doing, but this is not funny. Neither one of these. The fact that I can't see and the fact
Really,
that I can't talk are not funny.
really, you thought that it was temporary. You didn't think it was
I
permanent.
thought somebody did something. Not
Yeah.
that I had no clue. I have zero recollection of the accident.
Oh gosh. So who told you, who finally gave you the news and how did you take it that you were blinded permanently?
My mom.
Your
So
mom.
remember, my mom and my ex-girlfriend, they were in the room with me.
Yes.
That's
Mm,
who I found all this stuff out from when I started when I started hitting the panic button.
I
And I was
bet.
like,
Oh
you know,
God.
I'm trying to talk. I can't see, and then I'm trying to talk now, and I can't do
Yeah.
either one. Hit the panic button.
Oh, I know.
Yeah.
I had a tube down my throat. You know, in surgery, sometimes they intubate you.
Mhm.
And when I woke up, um, I wasn't expecting it, and it feels like cement filled my throat, so I can't talk. Right. So I know that feeling. And they had my hands tied because they didn't
Mhm.
pull it out. And
Yeah.
I'll tell you what, Kijuan, I'm like you. I wrapped my tongue around that thing and pushed it out of my mouth. And
Wow.
it went nuts, the nurses and everything. And the doctor said, well, if she could do that, she doesn't need it. But
Exactly.
but he said
Exactly.
that was a very dangerous thing you did. But I was in panic, like you said. If you, when you feel that, like you can't talk, you go into a panic. And if I
Hmm.
couldn't see, I would go into a panic because those are senses and things that you need. So when your mom told you, how did you take it in the beginning? How did you handle this? Because this is
Well, the
major.
first thing she said was, because like I said, they were talking about the accident. So that was the first question I asked.
Mm-hmm.
I'm like, what's this motorcycle accident dream y'all keep talking about? Like, who's that? And
Mm-hmm.
the way I was able to communicate first and foremost because I could not talk,
No,
literally.
no,
So she
mhm.
had me right.
Right.
I can't
Mm.
see,
Yeah, see, right.
but you're having me right. And she's like, I know. I just need you to try to write without writing over top of what you wrote. And I'm like, thank you. Easier said than done. Like, you know. And so anyway, I do it anyway, and I handed it back. And I probably wrote as if I was in kindergarten or something, but
Yes, sure.
because
Well, yeah,
I'm sure that's how big it was.
yeah, yeah,
But anyway, she could read it.
yeah, good.
And she read it and she said, "Oh, wait, that's not a dream. That's what happened to you." And I said,
Hmm.
"Wait, what?"
Hmm.
That was the last thing I asked that day because now I literally just got hit with a ton of bricks and I don't
Yeah,
know what to think.
yeah. But you know what? Instantly, when you hit that, when that truck hit you, you ran into it. But you didn't feel the pain because you instantly went unconscious.
Oh yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah,
so
no, it
that's one good thing.
hmm
Yes.
yeah, it's a protective mode that your mind goes into.
Yeah, you just went. So, how did you find the strength to turn this into a source of inspiration for others? Is this tragic, unbelievable event that happened to you?
Kind of like how I'm talking to you right now. I just kept talking to people, and everybody's like, "Man, you got to tell this story. You
Yeah.
got to write a book. You got to get on the stage. You got to do something. You just talking to me. This is not enough. People got to hear this because
Hmm.
they can get inspired. They can get motivated." And I'm like, "Hey, man, I love what you're saying, but I don't know nothing about that." Like
Yeah.
that's how I was in the beginning. I don't know what you're talking about, but that's not me. You can go and take that to somebody else. I'll let somebody else tell the story for me.
Well, what changed your mind? Obviously,
The
something
fact
changed.
that they kept saying it, they wouldn't leave me alone.
They will leave you alone.
My best friend since the age of 5,
Hmm.
God rest his soul, he is gone now.
Hmm.
Um, he passed away due to complications with diabetes.
Hmm.
And anywho, he was the main like catalyst for that. He just kept mentioning, man, you're like a real life superhero, and he called me Superman.
Yeah, you survived a lot more than anybody would.
Yeah, he
Absolutely.
called me Superman. He's like the fact that because he once he found out anyway. This was after I had been discharged and I was at home. I had been home for like a month or so by that time, maybe more. I don't know. By that time, I was able to move around by myself.
Hmm.
So it had to be longer than a month.
Yeah, yeah.
Anyway, he got a hold of my phone number and called me. He said, "Hey man," I said, "Dude, what's up, man? I ain't heard from you in a while." He's like, "Yeah, just been dealing with some stuff." But hey, real quick, uh, I heard you had a motorcycle accident. I was like, "Oh, yeah, yeah." He's like, "What the heck, dude? So I'm getting my hair done. Is it all right if I come by there after I leave here?" And I was like, "Yeah, I'm at my grandma's house. You remember what that is?" He's like, "Ah, of course I do. Come on, man." I was like, "I'm just making sure. It's been a little while since you've been over here." He
Mhm.
was like, but anyway, he said, "Yeah, yeah, no, I'll be there. I'll be over there after I leave here." I said, "Okay, cool." Well, I'm at home by myself. Can't see none of that. All he knows is I was in a motorcycle accident. I was blinded.
Mhm.
All that had to learn how to walk again. That's all he knows. He doesn't know nothing about what my situation at the house is set up like whether somebody's here, none of that.
Uh-huh.
He doesn't know any of that.
Yeah.
So he gets there, he knocks on the door. I heard him, arrive because I
Yeah.
heard the car door slam. And then he gets there, he knocks on the door, and then I'm like, "Who is it?" He's like, "Sam." I said, "Okay." And so I unlocked the door and I opened it. He's like, "What? Man, what? Why? Who? You here by yourself?" I said, "Yeah."
Mm.
He's like, "What?" And I
He could,
expected somebody else to be here with you,
yeah, right.
And I'm like, Nah, man, I'm here by myself." He's like, "This is crazy. Like, I, I did not expect." He was so lost, like he didn't know what to say.
Yeah.
Speechless is the words.
Yeah. I've taught disabled people that were in nursing homes how to live by themselves. So I
Hmm.
get this. I get
Hmm.
this because, I mean, I taught, they had MS. They were completely paralyzed and couldn't talk. And I found this one woman a computer. Now, this is 20 years ago. And they put an apparatus on her head so that she could use it like a stick to do that computer. And the computer had a voice for her.
Hmm.
And the first thing she typed out was, "People think I'm stupid, but I'm not." She had
Hmm.
not had a voice her whole life, her
Hmm.
whole life. So now this computer, and then I got her an apartment, totally computerized technology for everything, to open the door, everything. Now her family wasn't happy with it, but she was
Ah,
a yeah, they were
yeah.
afraid, but she was a grown woman and she was
Yes.
in a nursing home her whole life, so she was thrilled. So I get it. I get it. There's ways you can live alone, even with your disabilities.
Hmm.
And you know that because you're a strong man. I could see that. And I'm not
Yeah.
talking about physical, I'm talking about
Oh yeah.
mental. So, Kiwan, you know, finally enough people bugged you that you realized that that there was a message that you had, and you wanted to convey that message.
Hmm.
So you have a website, and what do you do on that website?
Well, I mean, on the website, that's how you go view what I do. I
Okay.
don't do much of anything on it. I mean, it's just ways for you to understand what I do. So, amymotivation.com is
Mhm.
where you can go to not only book me as a speaker, but you can get my, trusted mentoring um,
Yeah.
services, my resilience coach services.
Good.
You could purchase my book, Don't Focus on Why Me from Motorcycle Accident to Miracle. And it can also be found on Amazon, Kindle, and I have audio versions on Audible and Apple Books. But also I have videos on there. So
That's what
for
I'm on.
when I'm speaking, I
Yeah.
have a speaking engagement video up there it's been condensed, to kind of give you some highlights, but also I have videos of me playing the drums.
Well, see,
Uh,
that's it. I was wondering because that's what's so motivational is to see you doing these
mhm.
things, and
Yeah.
even that is it gives people some faith that
Hmm.
that they can do something in your faith, and you obviously have a passion for music. You're just talking about the drums, so you could still play the drums.
Absolutely.
Absolutely.
And
Thank
not just play them, I play them at a high level.
good. You're oh good.
Yeah.
So what do you think your biggest challenges now in your life? Because it's changed upside down
I
what it
mean, yeah,
was.
I think the
Yeah.
biggest challenge is living in a sighted world unsighted.
Yeah.
What does that mean? Okay, it means this world was made for people with sight because there are more people with sight than there are people without. And so us, and I say VIPs is what I mean by us, visually impaired persons.
Oh, I like that. VIPs.
Yeah, we are living in a sighted world, unsighted. And
Yes.
so we have to deal with all of this stuff, and that's why we do our best to advocate. Like all of this noise, and I don't want to get political at all, but all this noise surrounding them messing with ADA,
Mhm.
that's not cool.
Yeah.
Because
No,
that would start to mess with us and anybody with a disability.
I'm going to tell you something. When I was working for the independent living place that I worked for,
Hmm.
the ADA, that's when the ADA finally came out, Americans Disability Act.
Hmm.
So that was back in the early 90s that that came
Hmm.
out. And the director of the place that I worked was fully paralyzed for his whole life. He had been in a wheelchair. And I remember an aide would come in, part, somewhere in the day, take him to the bathroom. Somebody would come in to feed him lunch, but his mind was not disabled,
Hmm.
sharp as a tack, you
Hmm.
know. So I totally understand that. And then that's when they started enforcing you have to have a ramp here, you have to do
Hmm.
this. And businesses didn't like that.
Yeah, because it costs them money. That's all they care about.
Exactly, exactly. And now what you're talking about is true. They're
Can I
trying
can
to,
I give you an example of that
oh,
that
yes, I
business
love
thing?
that. Hmm.
This just happened to me last year, actually,
Yeah.
uh, in August of last year. So I
Yes.
was at a hotel in Ta Tacoma, Washington. Yeah, I was in
Okay.
Tacoma, Washington, at a hotel. I can't remember the name of it. Anyway,
Mm.
they're trying to be cute with all this stuff now. You know how it is as software and technology advances, so does everything else.
Hmm.
So I am at this hotel. Now hear me clearly. We have a group of disabled folks, but I'm the only
Hmm.
blind one.
Hmm. Yeah.
But we have a group of them.
Yeah.
Everybody's got some kind of disability, seen
Hmm.
and unseen,
Yep.
but I am the only blind one.
Hmm.
So they didn't understand there was a problem until I addressed it.
Mm-hmm.
So the elevator,
Oh.
guess what? It was touchscreen.
Mm, mm.
The call button was touchscreen, and so was the inside of the elevator
And you can't
touchscreen.
see that. There's no buttons for you to push.
How am I supposed to use that? What
Yeah,
if there was some kind of emergency? What if I needed to leave my room
right.
to come downstairs? You
I'm,
telling me I got to take the stairs every time to get downstairs?
oh my heavens. Oh, that's awful. What
And
were
I
they
was on the
thinking?
ninth floor.
What were they thinking to do that?
Now that's not the worst part. The worst part is when we go address
Mm-hmm.
the manager at the desk. They get upset with us as if we did it.
Upset because you can't see and there's no buttons to push. At least if there's buttons, you could feel and say, okay, this is one, this is two, this is three.
Well, or Braille, but I
Braille.
can't even do that because
Yeah,
it's not aligned with it.
yeah, yeah. That's awful.
And
Yeah.
so they get upset at the fact that we address it and they don't have an answer.
It's been years, years. I told you 30 years ago I was doing this kind of work. And I took a bunch of people to a restaurant for lunch because they would not go out. They couldn't handle going out. And I found a place that had a ramp and everything. But still, when 8 people came in wheelchairs,
Mhm.
the place went crazy. It went crazy. It just having to, move like we don't need chairs. They're going to sit in their
You're
wheelchair.
right. Like,
Everything.
all I need y'all to do is move these chairs out of the way.
It was,
They
and
were like, we don't know what to do.
they were flustered. They were flustered. And
I believe it.
I'm going to tell you something else. And this is very important. Before I had that job, I never noticed how many people were in wheelchairs.
Hmm.
Once I had the job, it was like they were everywhere because now I have the awareness.
Yep,
And that's what you're doing.
exactly.
You're presenting yourself to the world to build the awareness of what you can and can't do and what needs to be done, to make life more acceptable for you. I think that's great. And
Yeah.
so tell me when you do a gig, when you go speak, right? Uh, what is your message usually? Is it resilience and
Well, I mean,
faith?
it depends because it could be based off of what the company wants to hear or what
Yeah.
the people who want me to be there, what they want me to hear.
Oh, they tell.
One that is supposed to be coming up in October is called the Dom. What is it called? Dominate or Domination Conference? It's something with the word dominance conference. It's domination, some kind of conference.
Okay.
But it's basically to, be, bold in what you're
Okay.
doing in a sense.
Gotcha.
Uh, and so it just depends. Now, me personally, I've had one where I hosted and it was, I guess you could say titled or themed Will to Overcome.
There you go.
Now,
Mm.
will was an acronym. It was in all caps.
Oh,
And
okay.
so will stood for win in life's lessons.
Wow, I like that. That
So
we
the premise around it was you need to win in life's lessons in order to overcome adversity.
this is true.
And so that's what it was all based off of. And I was going to be basically not just speaking to you, but kind of teaching you
Yeah. How
how
did you write your
I win
book?
in life's lessons to overcome adversity.
How did you write your book? Who wrote that for you, or did you use some kind of? How
Oh
did
no,
you?
I wrote my book.
But how did you write
No,
it?
no, no, no ghostwriter. I used my desktop, JAWS.
Mhm.
So JAWS is a software for people who use screen readers.
Okay.
It stands for Job Accessible Workstation, I believe.
Okay. And how
Of
does that?
course, this was made back in the day when people
Yeah.
who were visually impaired needed some kind of system to use a computer.
Mhm.
And of course, it's evolved over time. But
Yeah.
yeah, that was what they wanted to get equal. opportunities to work.
Yeah.
Excuse me. And so I use that, or if I have an Apple product, which I do for my phone, I use VoiceOver.
So
VoiceOver is
basically, you did like voice to text, like you would take your voice and then print it out.
you talking about
No.
for the book?
Yeah, for the
No,
book.
no, I typed.
You typed.
Huh? I know how to
Wow.
type on a keyboard. I was taught, um, the same way you're taught in like elementary school to learn like how to type is the
Yeah,
same way they teach you as a visually
you're not
impaired
supposed
person.
to look at the keys. So did
Yep.
you know how to type before you went blind?
Well, yes, of course. I was so remember how I told you what my business was with
Yeah.
website design and management? I
Yeah.
was a computer geek.
This is really a skill that
Yeah.
you thank God had that you knew how to
Oh, yeah.
type. That is a skill
Yeah.
because oh, okay. Wow. That's impressive. So you wrote
Yeah.
a book.
Yep.
Wow. Yeah.
So I wrote that book, and don't get me wrong, it was the hard part was the emotions that
Mm,
came from the book because
mm,
I made it
mm.
very vulnerable.
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
wanted to give everybody
Mm-hmm.
what I was dealing with
Yeah.
because I had been hearing what everybody else was dealing with, what they saw, what they heard, what they felt. Cool. What about
Yeah.
me?
Yeah. How do you feel?
Now let's hear it from my side.
Yeah.
And so that's what that book is about. It's telling it from my point of view. Um, and
Tell me the
and
name
when
of
I
the book.
tell you
Tell me
it's
the name of the book again because I'm
I'm
gonna
sorry,
write
say
it.
that again.
Tell me the name of the book. I'm gonna write it
Yes,
down.
it's called Don't Focus on Why Me, From
Okay.
Motorcycle Accident to Miracle.
Wow. Don't focus on why me. And
Hmm.
then the subtitle is
Is
Motorcycle.
from motorcycle accident to
Now,
miracle.
how did you get that published? Where is it published? How did you get it published?
Well, I self-published it on
Yeah,
Amazon.
that's what I do with my book. Mhm.
And so it's on Amazon, Kindle, and then I had a company called Audio Bookmasters do my audio version.
Wow.
So I picked the narrator and they read it
Yes. Yes.
and published it on Audible and Apple Books.
Yes. Yeah.
I
Yeah.
think
Same.
Goodreader and some other stuff too.
My story is not as dramatic as you, but I have 33 years of sobriety. So
Hmm.
um, I have a book and it's about my life, and there's a lot of obstacles that I had to overcome. But when I was younger, alcohol and drugs were something that I used to self-medicate, you know.
Hmm.
And I worked and had children and I had a life and I was like what they call functional alcoholic
Yep, I heard of
until
that.
until I
Oh
wasn't.
yeah.
But you know, my life has changed so dramatically when I got sober, and it took a while, but I live such a spiritual life now. It's amazing. And I'm sure you do too,
Oh
because
yeah.
to go through what you're going through, you have to have some kind of faith in a power greater than you.
Hmm.
Like you don't have to believe in God, but there's something. There's
That
something.
that was I was literally just on the phone mentoring someone right before I got
Mhm.
on this podcast with you, and I was
Yeah.
telling them the same thing. I said, dude, if you keep going through life trying to make you pull yourself through all of this, you're not gonna make it.
Mhm.
I say you need to lean on your faith. And the thing is, he is a faith believer. I say
Yeah.
you need to lean on your faith.
Yeah.
You
It's like
keep
he
trying to do this
has
all
it.
on your own, you're
Yeah.
not gonna make it, brother.
It's like he has it, but he's not using it.
Exactly.
That's a tool in his toolbox, and he's
Hmm.
leaving it there. I totally understand that.
Yeah.
I sponsored a lot of women, and I used to tell them that you have a toolbox, you know, and it could be meditation if you're having a bad day, or call somebody on the phone.
Hmm.
You know, like there's all these things you have to do to get out of yourself
Oh yeah.
and to connect and know you're not alone.
Well, that's the thing. I keep telling people like with my book, that was the thing that I do in my book. I give lessons I tell people that you might think you're the only depressed person in the world. You might think you're the only one who has suicidal thoughts in the world. You're not. You're not
You're
alone.
no.
And so the thing that I told him, I said, "Your everything you're saying to me is the same thing I've been dealing with.
Yeah.
Why haven't you called me?"
Oh,
I said, "I
I
told
know.
you to
Yeah.
call me whenever."
Yeah, I know. I know
And
that.
you're going to everybody else that has been pushing you away.
Yeah. Yeah.
But the one person that you should be calling, you only
Yeah.
call for business stuff. Dude,
Yeah.
that's not what we agreed on.
Some
You know,
people, I think some people want to just sit in their despair, sit in their crap and feel sorry for themselves. And
well,
that's okay for, a little bit, but then you gotta, like you said, reach out and get help and get out of there.
well, it's not so much that I think for him it was that he wasn't sure who to turn to.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I was like, dude,
So that too.
I literally am dealing with the same exact stuff you're talking about.
That's right. I'm the one to call. Right?
Like, I know exactly what you're saying. And it's
Exactly.
not, it's because you know how some people say, oh, I get it, I get it. And
Yeah.
they've never been through it. I said, dude, I'm going through the same
I know.
exact thing.
I know.
I was like, I can't even explain it any better. I said,
No.
every time you open your mouth, I reflect right back to my life because it's the same thing.
Yeah. So it's good for you too to talk to him.
Well, that, but I'm like, dude, I am here. I am
Oh,
the one you should have been talking to because everybody else has been literally pushing you away or going and telling somebody else about your business.
but it's a very human flaw that we have. And I had a very extremely bad situation going on about a month ago. And I was sitting in my room and thinking, I have nobody to talk to, I have nobody to talk to. And then that Thursday, every Thursday, I'm in a spiritual prayer group where we start with, does anybody have anything weighing on their heart that they'd like to share? So I shared what was going on with me. And there's four women in the group, and they said, you have our numbers. We pray together, meditate every Thursday. Why did you call one of us? And
Yeah.
I went, oh my God, the, I should have a V8. It's like,
You know, it's funny because that's the same thing with him. He's in the
yeah,
same we're in the same prayer group together.
yeah. Well, there you go.
Exactly,
So,
but it's like literally the same thing you just did. It's the same with him. We're in the same prayer group, but yet you're talking to people who are not in a prayer group, not even in a prayer
no,
group, not
yeah,
just not in ours. They're not in one at all.
yeah. I
So,
mean, now I know. I know I can never say that again
yeah,
because
oh
they
yeah, and I
made that
got you.
statement, and I feel really good about that. And I will call one
Hmm.
or two of them that I really feel I could talk to. But that's it. We do that to ourselves. We say we're alone, and we're not. We have to reach out, you know?
Yeah, I told him. I said you got to change that I into a we.
I like all
Don't,
this.
I said, stop saying I can't do this. I am tired. You need to
Yeah.
say we can do this. And I'm not talking about me. That's what I say. I'm not talking about me. You need to say you and God can do this.
Yeah. Yeah.
Because as long as you invite him in to
Yeah.
your situation,
Yeah.
you can do it.
I sponsored a girl once, this is years ago, and she said, I'm an atheist. So I don't think you're able to use like the 12 steps. I said, oh, yeah, I am. I'm going to tell you why. And I said, do you believe when you look up at the sky and you see birds and clouds and everything, sun, moon, whatever, do you believe that's kind of um, powerful and someone had to create that? And she went, yeah, I kind of do. I said, okay, so your God is the universe.
Mhm.
And she's sober over 20 years. So that's it. You just have to have something outside of you to put your troubles on, and a
Mhm.
friend to talk to.
Yep.
That's really the thing. So
That's it.
what advice would you give to somebody that's struggling to find like a purpose in their life.
Purpose. See,
Yeah.
purpose is kind of different for me because, like I said, I'm a faith believer. So my purpose, I literally went to my creator for that.
Mhm. Good.
And you know what's, oh, I heard this the other day. It was so powerful in my Bible study. Um, there was a young lady, she said, we need to stop going to creation and start going to the creator. I said, whoa,
Nice.
whoa, whoa, say that again. And she
Hmm.
said, we need to stop looking at one another because we're the creation and go to the creator, the one who created us for our answers.
Yeah.
Because we can't give each other answers that the creator has.
Yeah.
I said, listen, girl, woo. I
You know,
said, that's exactly how I got my answer too.
yeah.
Not even joking. That was exactly how I got my answer for purpose because I talked to him, nobody else.
Yeah. And your purpose is to help other people.
Yes.
Yeah. That's why I do my podcast and my YouTube show and write my books. And my mission is to help people, mostly women, but I
Mhm.
don't make it all about women. But I think, well, I'll tell you what, a couple of years ago, I had lunch with a friend who was Black and gay. And
Mhm.
we're having lunch. And I said, Yule, you know, we're in trouble. I said, people of color, women, and gay people, we're really in trouble. I feel it coming. Well, guess what? What's going on right now?
Mhm.
The person in charge is trying to minimize us
Mhm.
by taking away all those programs. Like you said, you brought that up at the beginning, right? And he's good. He already did. He took away the right to have an abortion, which is the woman's choice. I mean, I would
Mhm.
have one, but I think you should choose, you know. And the ADA things, you're right. He's taking away a lot of programs, you know, and deporting people that probably don't shouldn't be deported. So it's a scary time
Oh yeah.
because you know, like we're in the like say,
Minority.
minority, women, people of color, and gays. It's the truth. So we have to come out and talk about it, right? We have to have people see us.
Yeah.
So how you
Yeah.
doing these days? You have a girlfriend?
Who, me?
Yeah.
Absolutely. Yes, I did.
Well, you're
Yes.
handsome as hell.
Thank you. Thank you. I appreciate that.
It's true.
Listen, I do not look like what I've been through. I tell you that.
No, no.
Um, a funny story about that. So remember I told you I had to have plastic surgery to get the two plates inserted in my head.
Yes. Mhm.
Well, when my mom told me I had plastic surgery, I'm a bit of a comedian, just to let you know.
Yeah.
So when she
Hey,
told me that, I said, "Wait a minute, they made me look like Denzel."
Denzel.
She said, "No, no." I was
I
like,
mean,
"Oh, oh
I think a
man."
little bit. Well,
Look, I
I'll
was
tell
like,
you
"Oh, man."
what you just said about, you know, what you went through and everything. I had someone that read my book recently, and I, it's my physical therapist, one of them. And I came to my appointment, and he said, "I finished your book, and I can never look at you the same way.
Mm,
When you walk in the door, I will never look at you the same way because the stuff you went through,
hmm
and you come in laughing and telling
hmm
jokes. I make everybody laugh. I'm like the
Yeah,
entertainment at physical therapy.
that was me in the hospital.
Yeah, you
Yep,
got to do that. You have to survive. You know,
exactly.
you can't go to the darkness. You can't. You have to
Mm-mm.
stay in the light. So what? So you have a girlfriend, okay? And what are your plans for the future? Do you have any goals that you see coming up?
See, I, I really don't know when people talk about goals. It's a thing that I never really got into because my goals always seemed to be materialistic, and I don't want to be that guy. I really
No.
don't want to grow into being materialistic.
Mm-mm.
I do want to, don't get me wrong, I'm not saying I don't want to have nice things. That's not
Yeah.
what I'm saying. I just don't want it to be solely materialistic.
Yes, I get
I
it.
want it to be, how did I help somebody today?
Yes,
If I
absolutely.
can't, I think it's Shaquille O'Neal
Mhm.
Make sure he helps at least one person every day.
That's great. Yes. And you know what? When I say my prayers at night, I end it with let me see the miracles in life and let me be kind to every person I meet. And, I found that like when you're in a restaurant, you have a waiter or waitress, and you ask their name and you use their name. That means something. People don't realize it because
I,
you see them, right?
it lets them know you
Yeah,
care.
yeah.
See,
They're
see,
not
I
say what
I
you
thought
think.
I was the crazy one for doing that. When
Yeah,
people say their name, my job is to catch it.
that's right. That's right.
And if
It's
you
it's
don't say it, I'm gonna ask you what it is.
that's what I do. And you know
Yeah.
what? It's such a little thing. I went to Home Depot and I got all these plants and I dragged a soil bag. I don't know how I did it on the back bottom of the carriage. And I went up to a young man and I said, before I buy all this stuff, can somebody put it in the car for me? Right.
Mhm.
And he said, if we can get it in, no, he said, if you can get it in your car, we'll put it in your car. And he was so nice. So he did all that. And when he was done, I said, if nobody told you today, I'm going to tell you, I appreciate you.
Mhm.
His face just lit up. He was,
Mhm.
thank you.
Yeah.
That made his day that
A,
somebody actually appreciated him.
a little goes a long way.
Really, it
And
does.
we're it's crazy because with this social media world, we're starting to fade away from that. The
Mm,
connections that, and this is why I'm so big on connection face to face. I don't, I
yes.
mean, granted, I know we're doing this virtually. I do not like virtual.
Yeah. But
I
it's going to
mean,
get out there and people are going to
yeah,
see
well,
it.
no, I get that.
Yeah.
That's not what I'm saying at all.
Oh, I know.
A human needs a human to connect, not a computer screen. You know what I mean?
Well,
If if
connected.
we if we went to a point where we never saw another human, our lives would be miserable.
Yeah. Yeah.
And that's what I'm getting at. If you never touched another human again, your life would be miserable.
So you have found a way to live a joyous, abundant life with friends and girlfriend and a purpose and a business and all this stuff. And it's amazing that you can do that, but you did it. So you are a model, for people. You're
Mhm.
somebody they can look at and say, oh, look at this guy. And I'm worried because I have to use a cane, you know. that- I went through that with my husband. He has Parkinson's and
Mhm.
he falls all the time.
Mhm.
And I bought him a walker and he wouldn't use it. He wouldn't use it. And it sat in the corner. And I said to myself, when he falls enough times, he'll use the walker.
Mhm.
And it took 2 years and he fell a lot. So don't feel sorry for yourself and don't feel bad because you have a disability because it's not really a disability. It's a different way to do things, right?
I call it a different ability.
And I was close.
Yeah,
Hey,
yeah. That's why I
connection.
started pointing at you. I was like,
Yeah,
"Oh, please hit it." Yeah, I call it a different ability.
there you go.
Because I've done things that I never thought I would do, even with eyesight.
Yeah,
Like
yeah,
like some of the things I've done now, people are like, "What the heck? Well, you did what? You
yeah.
went downhill skiing in Vermont without eyesight?"
Yeah.
Sure did. I went rock climbing while I was there too.
I'll tell you what, before this has been a great show. My one grandson was born missing like the three middle fingers on his left hand. His
Mhm.
hand almost looks like a lobster claw. And when he was like 3 and 4 years old, he was going to be an athlete. He was doing basketball and he was good and he was doing all these things. And now he's a senior in high school and he can pitch 85 miles an hour, which, if you
Mm.
know anything about baseball, that's
Yeah.
a lot. And he learned how to bat with both arms, both
Hmm.
hands, switch it, or I think they call
Yeah.
it. He's a star. And like the colleges are looking at him. So he did not see that as a disability. He saw it as a different ability, like you said. And
Hmm.
he turned everything around. And his friends, he never had a problem with people because he's so outgoing and just, and they had a game, and the commentator came over and said, okay, I know you have big nicknames for each other. So tell me what they are and I'll use them. I'll say, like, Joe Blow hit a homer.
Hmm.
So they went and they told him their little names, came to him, and they said, oh, he's the Iron Claw, right? And the guy said to him, do you really want me to call you that? He said, that's my nickname, the Iron Claw. Yeah. So he just turned the disability around to a different ability, and now he's a star.
Oh yeah. No, I like that nickname.
You
That's an
might
awesome one.
see him on a baseball team. You might see him on the Dodgers, not the Dodgers, but maybe the
Hey, if he make it to the Dodgers, they going back.
yeah, he actually likes that team. He would love to be on that team.
Hmm.
But
Listen,
they're
they sure got a lot of pitchers though.
yeah, I have to go to a different team. First, let's get him through college.
I know, right?
Yeah. Well, this has been enjoyable. I hope you
Thank you.
had fun. I did.
Yes.
And I know everybody watching it is going to get some inspiration and out of this and look at their own life and see how they can make it better and make it more important. We need to leave a legacy.
Hmm.
You writing a book, that's a legacy. You speaking, that's a legacy. And everybody has the power to do it, they just don't use
Hmm.
it. So you're a perfect example of overcoming the worst thing in your life and having the best life you can,
No,
right? Anything else you want to say before we sign off?
no, I'll leave it at that. I appreciate you having me. I really do. And allowing me to tell my story on your platform.
And I'm going to put like your book and your website and everything on the show notes so people can access that. Thank you so much. This was wonderful. I enjoyed talking to you. Thank you
Thank
for
you.
coming.